probably didn't notice it happening. It wasn't a sudden announcement or a midnight executive order. It was subtle. A card-only sign at your local coffee shop, a shortage of coins at the grocery store, the gradual removal of ATMs from city centers. We are told this is for convenience. We are told it is for hygiene. We are told it is inevitable progress. But this is not an accident. It is a controlled demolition of the last remaining bastion of financial privacy, physical cash. Most people believe that we already live in a digital currency system. You get paid via direct deposit, you pay your bills online, and you tap your phone to buy groceries. You might go months without touching a paper bill. So when the government announces a central bank digital currency, or CBDC, most people shrug. They think, what's the difference? My money is already digital. But the difference between the digital money you use today and a CBDC is the difference between a bird in the wild and a bird in a cage. This is the story of the greatest bait and switch in financial history. It is the story of how the current economic crisis, the debt, the inflation, the looming crash, is being used as a smokescreen to implement a new monetary system where money is not just a store of value, but a tool of surveillance and control. To understand the trap, you have to understand how the current system works. Right now, when you swipe your Visa card, the transaction is digital, but it is private in the sense that it is between you, your bank, and the merchant. The Federal Reserve doesn't know you bought a coffee. The government can subpoena your records, sure, but they don't have a real-time feed of every cent you spend. More importantly, the money in your bank account is a liability of the private bank. If you don't like Bank of America, you can move your money to a credit union. If you don't like the banking system entirely, you can withdraw cash and keep it under your mattress. Cash is bearer coverage. Whoever holds the cash owns the value. It requires no permission to spend. It leaves no digital footprint. It is freedom. A central bank digital currency changes the architecture of money itself. With a CBDC, you don't have an account with a private bank. You effectively have an account directly with the central bank. The Federal Reserve in the US, the ECB in Europe, the Bank of England in the UK. Every single unit of currency is a programmable line of code on a centralized ledger controlled by the state. This means the issuer has absolute visibility into every transaction, in real time, forever. But visibility is just the tip of the iceberg. The real danger, the part they don't talk about on the news, is programmability. In 2025, we are standing at the edge of a cliff. The global debt bubble is bursting. The US dollar is losing its purchasing power. The system is breaking, and the architects of the global economy know it. They aren't trying to save the old system. They are preparing the lifeboats for the new one, but these lifeboats have chains. This transition is being sold to us as the solution to our problems. They tell us CBDCs will be faster. They will be cheaper. They will help the unbanked. They will prevent tax evasion and stop drug dealers. These are the selling points. But if you read the white papers, the technical documents written by the central bankers themselves, you see a very different purpose. They aren't building a payment system. They are building a control grid. Agustín Carstens, the general manager of the Bank for International Settlements, the central bank of central banks, said it openly in a video that has now become famous among financial analysts. He stated, "We don't know who's using a 100 bill today, and we don't know who's using a 1,000 peso bill today." The key difference with the CBDC is the central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression of central bank liability, and we will have the technology to enforce that. Absolute control. Enforce. These are not the words of a banker serving the public. These are the words of a warden running a prison. The trap is being set right now. The technology is already built. The pilot programs are running in over 100 countries. They are waiting for the right moment to flip the switch. And history tells us that the moment they flip the switch is usually right after a catastrophe. We are walking into a digital enclosure, and once the gates close and cash is outlawed, there is no opting out. You either participate in their system, or you don't eat. If you travel to Basel, Switzerland, you will find a strange tower-like building that looks like something out of a science fiction movie. It is tall, cylindrical, and completely isolated. This is the headquarters of the Bank for International Settlements, the BIS. Most people have never heard of the BIS. It doesn't have customers. You can't open a checking account there. It operates above national laws. Its property is sovereign territory, meaning Swiss police cannot enter without permission. Its officials have diplomatic immunity. The BIS is the central bank for central banks. It is the club where the Federal Reserve, the People's Bank of China, and the European Central Bank meet to coordinate the global economy. And it is inside this tower that the plan for the next financial system was hatched. They call it Project Icebreaker. For years, we were told that CBDCs were just domestic experiments. The US would have a digital dollar, China would have a digital yuan, and they would operate separately, just like paper money does today. But Project Icebreaker revealed the lie. Launched as a collaboration between the BIS and the central banks of Israel, Norway, and Sweden, Project Icebreaker was a test run for a retail CBDC hub. The goal wasn't just to digitize money within a country, it was to create a global interlinking system that connects all these digital currencies together. Why does this matter? Because it creates a unified global ledger. In the current system, we use SWIFT for international transfers. It's slow, it's clunky, and it relies on a network of correspondent banks. Project Icebreaker proposes a system where the BIS and central banks sit at the center of a hub and spoke model. It allows for instant cross-border payments. That sounds great for a business trying to import goods. But look at the architecture. In this system, the central hub has visibility into the flow of money globally. It consolidates power into the hands of a few unelected technocrats in Basel. But Icebreaker is just the prototype. The real infrastructure is being laid out in the United States under the guise of FedNow. Launched in 2023, FedNow is an instant payment infrastructure developed by the Federal Reserve. The media told you it was just a way to get your paycheck faster. But financial insiders know it is the rails upon which a CBDC will run. You cannot have a digital dollar without a high-speed 24/7 network to settle the transactions. FedNow is the highway. The CBDC is the car that will eventually drive on it. And the timing is suspicious. Why the rush? Because the competition isn't just other nations, it's crypto. Bitcoin and stablecoins proved that people want digital, fast, borderless money. But Bitcoin is decentralized. No one controls it. It terrifies the central bankers because it renders them obsolete. If people can be their own bank, the Federal Reserve loses its power to manipulate the economy. So they are racing to build a competitor. But unlike Bitcoin, which is an open ledger that anyone can see but no one can edit, a CBDC is a closed ledger that only the government can see and only the government can edit. Project Icebreaker proved the technology works. They tested programmability across borders. They tested how to swap currencies instantly without using the US dollar as an intermediary. This is a geopolitical weapon. Right now, the US maintains its empire through the dollar. If you want to buy oil, you usually need dollars. If you are a country the US doesn't like, they can sanction you and cut you off from SWIFT. But Project Icebreaker and similar BIS initiatives suggest a future where the dollar's dominance is replaced by a basket of digital currencies managed by the BIS. It is the new Bretton Woods, but digital. The scary part is the retail aspect. Project Icebreaker specifically focused on retail payments. That means you and me, buying coffee, buying gas. They aren't just building a back-end for banks. They are building a front-end for citizens. They have spent the last 5 years writing the code, running the simulations, and stress testing the network. The architects in Basel are ready. The system is built. All they need now is a reason to force everyone to use it. And that reason is likely to be the collapse of the very banking system we rely on today. Imagine it is the year 2026. You wake up and check your phone. The banking app you used to use is gone, replaced by the Fed Wallet or the digital Euro app. You go to the grocery store to buy a steak for a family dinner. You scan your phone. The terminal beeps red. Transaction declined. You have plenty of money in your account. That's not the problem. The problem is that you have exceeded your carbon allowance for the month. The smart contract embedded in your money knows that you bought meat 3 times this week, and the algorithm has decided that is too much. This is the reality of programmable money. When money is just code, the issuer can embed rules into that code. This is not science fiction. This is a feature that central bankers are actively discussing in their conferences under the polite term, conditional payments. Let's look at the mechanisms of control available in a CBDC system. First, expiration dates. In a recession, people stop spending. They save their money because they are worried about the future. This is bad for the economy, according to Keynesian economists. With cash, the government can't force you to spend. But with a digital dollar, they can give your money an expiration date. Imagine receiving a stimulus check that says, must be spent within 30 days or it vanishes. It destroys the ability to build generational wealth. It forces you to live hand to mouth, perpetually dependent on the next transfer. Second, geofencing. The technology exists to restrict where your money works. The government could decide that to support local businesses, your money only works within a 20-mile radius of your home. Or, if there's another pandemic or climate lockdown, they could turn off your ability to buy gas or train tickets. Your money becomes your parole officer. Third, negative interest rates. Right now, if the bank charges you to hold your money, you can withdraw cash. That ability to withdraw acts as a zero lower bound. Banks can't go too negative or everyone leaves. But if cash is banned, there is no escape. The central bank can set interest rates to 5%. That means for every $100 you save, the government takes $5 a year. It is a direct confiscation of wealth, a tax on saving that you cannot vote against and cannot avoid. We have already seen a beta test of this social engineering. Look at China. China is years ahead with the digital yuan. It is linked to their social credit system. If a citizen jaywalks, plays too many video games, or criticizes the government online, their social credit score drops. When it drops too low, they cannot buy plane tickets, they cannot get loans. Now, imagine that system brought to the West. It won't be called social credit. It will be called ESG scoring, environmental, social, and governance. It will be framed as being a good citizen. If you donate to the wrong political protest, your account is frozen. We saw this in Canada during the trucker protests in 2022. Bank accounts were frozen without due process. That was done with a clumsy, old banking system. With the CBDC, it can be done instantly, algorithmically, to millions of people at once. It creates a panopticon, a prison where the guards can see everyone but the prisoners can't see the guards. Privacy is not just about hiding secrets. It is about the power dynamic between the citizen and the state. If the state knows every book you buy, every magazine you subscribe to, every political donation you make, and every location you visit, they don't need to arrest you to control you. They can just tweak the algorithm of your wallet. This is the death of the free market. In a free market, you vote with your dollars. In a CBDC system, the dollar votes for you. They are building a system where dissent is financially impossible. And the terrifying part is that millions of people will sign up for it willingly because they won't understand the terms and conditions until it is too late. So, if this system is so dystopian, why would anyone agree to it? Why would the American people who love their freedom hand over the keys to the digital prison? The answer lies in the Hegelian dialectic: problem, reaction, solution. You create a problem. You wait for the public to react with fear and demand help. Then, you offer the solution you wanted to implement all along. The problem is the coming economic crash. As we have discussed on this channel, the math of the current system is broken. The $38 trillion debt, the derivatives bubble, the commercial real estate collapse. It is mathematically impossible to pay it back. The system must reset, but the elites don't want an uncontrolled collapse where they lose power. They want a controlled demolition. Here's the likely scenario for 2025-2026. A massive liquidity crisis hits the banking sector. It will make the 2008 crash look like a hiccup. Regional banks will fail. Maybe even a major bank like JP Morgan or Bank of America will teeter on the edge. ATMs will go dark. Credit cards will stop working. Panic will sweep the streets. People will be terrified. They won't care about privacy. They will care about feeding their children. In this moment of maximum chaos, the Federal Reserve and the Treasury will step in. They will say, the old banking system is broken. It was greedy and inefficient. But we have a solution. We have Fed accounts. Download this app, and we will airdrop $2,000 of emergency relief funds directly to you immediately. Starving, panicked people will download the app. They will accept the terms of service without reading them. They will be grateful for the digital lifeline. And just like that, the trap is sprung. Once the adoption reaches a critical mass, say 50% or 60% of the population, they will begin to phase out the old system. They will make it expensive to use cash. They will require businesses to accept the digital dollar. They will pay government benefits and tax returns exclusively in CBDC. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It is a conspiracy fact. We know this because they have told us. The timelines of the BIS, the Federal Reserve, and the ECB all converge on the middle of this decade. 2025 is the pilot phase. 2026 is the implementation. We are seeing the precursors now. The push to track $600 transactions in the US, the war on crypto, the labeling of cash users as suspicious. It is a psychological operation to prepare you for the switch. So, what can you do? The window to act is closing, but it is not shut yet. You must diversify out of the banking system. You need assets that have no counterparty risk. Physical gold and silver. They cannot be printed and they cannot be turned off. Bitcoin, held in self-custody on a cold wallet. It is the only digital money that is outside the state's control. Land, food, tangible goods. You need to build a parallel economy with your local community. Trade with cash while you can. Support businesses that reject cashless mandates. The wealth collapse we talk about isn't just about stock prices falling. It is about the collapse of freedom. The wealth they are trying to steal isn't just your money. It is your autonomy. Project Icebreaker is real. The technology is ready. The crisis is scheduled. The only variable left in the equation is you. Will you walk into the digital prison for the promise of safety, or will you prepare now to stand outside of it? The system depends on your ignorance. It depends on you thinking this is just a tech upgrade. It's not. It's a new constitution written in code where the state is the master and you are the user. I'm Tom, and this is The Wealth Collapse. Subscribe now to stay ahead of the curve, because when the history books are written, you'll want to be one of the few who saw it coming.